Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Layla, and for today's video, we're going to be talking about part 3 of the student loan debt relief plan. I've already made a video. I've made multiple videos around student loans, this student loan debt relief plan that was announced on August 24th, 2022. So the first part of this, well, first of all, I'll link to the video, but the first part of this debt relief plan is that the forbearance is extended through the end of 2022, so we do not have to make payments all through the rest of 2022, and our student loans remain at 0% interest. The second part is the cancellation. You can receive up to $20K of cancellation depending on if you qualify for these specific things. You can, you probably know about all the details already, but if you don't know, then you can definitely check out my video on that and hear more information around it. And for number 3, I briefly touched on it in that original video that I filmed, but I didn't go into detail because I wanted to do further research on it and make sure I'm pointing out all the things that are important here. So for part 3 of the debt relief plan, this involves making payments and student loans more manageable going forward. Now, I have my notes here from this. Again, I don't memorize this stuff, so I'm gonna be looking down and making sure I get everything right. So just being real here, I am not gonna memorize this information, and so I will be looking down. This is kind of beside the point, but I just wanted to point it out because something that I find really frustrating with many things to do with finances, but in particular, stuff like this and taxes or anything to do with the government really, is that they don't make it simple. When you read the stuff, it's like, what does that mean? What does that involve? How do I even calculate that? They are putting things out there that only like a tax preparer or a CPA would understand, or somebody in politics, I guess, or somebody who's really, really financially savvy. But that's why this took me a little bit longer to film. I held off on this because I knew I wanted to do research on it and get everything explained, because some of it I didn't even understand myself. Like, it was confusing how to calculate discretionary income and all of this. So wanted to make sure I break this down for everybody to understand, because it looks simple when you just take a first glance at it, but it's not. It's not in simple terms. So what they said is that they are going to be having smaller, more manageable monthly payments for student loan borrowers. And along with that, they said that for undergraduate loans, they will cut in half the amount that borrowers have to pay each month from 10% to 5% of discretionary income. So discretionary income, the definition of discretionary income is the money that is left over after your basic necessities are paid for. So when people are reading that, including myself, I'm like, what the heck is discretionary income? What is that? Like, that's going to be different for everybody. So this is based off of the federal poverty rate, and I'm going to give examples of how you can calculate how much you'll be paying. For many people who their income is considered the poverty or like below poverty, you will not have to make any payments. So yeah, let's just get into that. So again, as I said, your discretionary income is any money that's left over after you've paid your basic necessities, but there is a calculation to go along with that. And before I get to the actual example and calculation, they also said in this debt relief plan that they're going to raise the amount of income that is considered non-discretionary, and therefore it's protected from repayment. So in other words, discretionary income is decreasing. What they count as discretionary income is lower now. Along with that, they said this guarantees that no borrower earning under 225% of the federal poverty level will have to make a monthly payment. So you may be wondering, how do you determine what 225% of the poverty level is? So there's a calculation behind this. First, you would find the poverty level calculator, the federal poverty level calculator, because it's different per state, but for federal, that's what we're referring to here. For these federal student loans, that's what all of this applies to. So there's a chart. I'll put that up on the screen. I can link down below to it. We're going to be looking at 2022. Every year it changes just a little bit, but it does change every year because of various aspects of the economy. And for my example, we're going to be basing this off of a single person. So you are not married, you are not filing taxes jointly with anybody. It is just you that you are taking care of. So if you have a child, this example wouldn't apply to you, but you can use this table to calculate what 225% means for you. So for a single person, the federal poverty level, their income would be $13,590 or less for 2022. And we're gonna multiply that by 225%. So $13,590 times 2.25 or 225%. And that comes to $30,577. So that amount for a single person, if you make $30,577 or below, you will not have to pay anything on your student loan debt. And that's also really beneficial because of these other changes. So we'll get to the other parts of this. So obviously, if you can afford to make payments, that's great. Like if you are considered in the poverty level, but you have a $0 payment, so you don't have to make payments, but you still do, obviously that's going to benefit you. But if you are at $0, that's not going to harm you either. So as I said, we'll get to that. Now, in order to calculate your discretionary income based off of your earnings, so if you earn $30,577, you don't have to pay anything. Like your discretionary income, there isn't enough there within the 225 percentile for you to have enough left over to make student loan payments. But if you make $40,000, you will have a minimum payment that's over $0. So to calculate your discretionary income, you take your income. So if you're at $40,000 as an individual, you subtract that $30,577, and that comes to $9,423 of discretionary income. Now, before I said that they now are requiring 5% of your discretionary income to go to student loans. That is the max. So if we take 5% of $9,423, that gives us about $471. Now this is for the year. So whatever it is that you get for the year, you divide that by 12, and that's your monthly payment. So for this person making $40,000 as an individual, $39 is what you'd be responsible for your student loans per month. Now in the past, it was 10% allowed of your discretionary income, so this would have been doubled. So it would have been about $80 of this person's income would have to go to student loans. That is now lower, and the amount of discretionary income is decreased. So this is beneficial for many, many people. And the difference between 10% versus 5% is pretty significant. So no, $78 is not a huge amount for some people, but when you have a low income, that can be huge. And also a lot of people who have student loan debt are still paying down credit card debt or have some other form of debt that they need to pay down. And by cutting that amount in half that you actually have to pay towards student loans, that allows you the rest of it to put toward your other financial responsibilities. So that's pretty significant. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to be writing a blog post to go along with this, so that will be linked down below, and I will put this calculation in that blog post if you missed it, so you can kind of calculate what you can expect, or you can just wait until January 2023 and see what you end up having to pay, but it should be a lot lower than what it was before. There is a catch to this, so that 5%, the 5% versus 10%, this only applies to undergraduate loans. So it's kind of interesting what they're doing here. Grad loans, you still will have to pay 10% of your discretionary income. So even if you're making that $40,000, your discretionary income will still be that $9,423. But if you have grad school loans, you will still be responsible for 10% from your discretionary income to go towards student loans. So it would be $78 per month for that example for your grad school loans. But if you have both your undergraduate loans and grad school loans that you need to pay for, there's the payment cap of 5 to 10%, and your payment is going to be calculated based on a weighted average of your loans. So you may have more graduate school student loan debt versus undergrad student loan debt, or vice versa. So if you have a higher amount of grad school debt, then you will be paying a higher percentage of your income, but still the cap is going to be 10%, and it's a weighted average, so it shouldn't be awful. The other part of this debt relief plan is for people who have $12,000 or less of student loan debt. That will be forgiven after 10 years instead of 20 years, so half the time. Now, I know some people may look at this and be like, 12K, like, okay, let's say you have 10K of student loan debt and your minimum payment is $100 per month. So each month you're putting 100 to it. Within 10 years, you should be able to pay it off. But if some people stay in poverty for 10 years, the next 10 years, then they may not make any payments because it may not be required. So if you have 10K of student loan debt and you are in poverty that whole time, you won't be required to make any payments, assuming nothing changes in the next 10 years, which is possible. but then your student loan debt would be wiped out and you may not have to pay anything toward that. Now, I'm not encouraging anybody to stay in poverty because of that. Like, it's obviously much better to work toward increasing your income and trying to get out of that, just because it is better for your health, better for your mental health, physical health. You will probably live a better life. Money's not everything. So I wouldn't encourage anybody to try to stay under that, to try to fall under this, but regardless, it's going to happen to lots of people. But they're cutting that from 20 years down to 10. So that's pretty significant. The biggest part of this, which I'm really, really excited about, is this. So they are going to cover your monthly interest. This is huge, y'all. This is huge. So your balance will not grow as long as you are making monthly payments, even if your monthly payments are $0. So if you're somebody in that poverty level where you don't have to make payments, your monthly payment is $0, you still will not be accruing interest. That's huge. This is saving people thousands and thousands of dollars. If you are making your monthly payment, even if it's that $39 or $0, the interest will not be growing. You will be able to pay off your loan faster. Your money is going to go toward the principal. You're not going to have to worry about, oh, I paid $5,000 for the last however many years and it's my balance has increased. You're not going to have to worry about that anymore. Like, this is probably the biggest benefit for so many people. You know, the 20K, the 10K being canceled is big, but for people who have, 50,000 plus left of student loan debt, and even after the cancellation, you still have 30K, 50K, over 100K, that's going to be your lifesaver right there. I think the only negative here is that there's not going to be any sort of tax break for that, because, unless you don't make your required payments, which I don't recommend because I'm not sure what will happen there. But, before the pandemic, I remember I was paying, I don't know, like over $3,000 in interest for my student loans, and I would be able to report that for my taxes, and it would lower my taxes a little bit. And it actually was a pretty significant help at the time. So that will be one thing that will not benefit you, but this is a bigger deal. For you to be able to save potentially thousands of dollars per year by your interest not growing is a much bigger benefit than not having the tax break. Now, something that they did mention is that starting summer 2023, borrowers will be able to allow the Department of Education to automatically pull their income info every year, so that you don't have to worry about updating it every year. And this is important for your payment plan. So I wouldn't try to trick the government whatsoever. Just be honest with your income, and the easiest way to do that is by setting this up. So summer 2023, they're going to allow for that. You don't have to worry about anything. They're just going to, what it sounds like is they're going to adjust your payment based off of your income that they pull. So this will mean that your monthly payment will probably change from year to year, but it shouldn't be anything crazy or significant unless you go from earning in the poverty range to over six figures or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I think that's cool. That's something I would suggest opting into, just so it's one less thing for you to worry about. Just focus on paying down your student loan debt so that you don't accrue any of that interest and get out of debt faster. Now, the other important thing here is the public service loan forgiveness aspect. And this is very important because it's time sensitive. So if you are somebody who works in the public service industry, so this is nonprofits, local government, federal, state, military, all of that stuff. There's probably a whole list somewhere. I'll try to find something of whether or not you work in the public service industry. And in the past, you may not have qualified for public service loan forgiveness, or you didn't do something correctly. There were all these crazy rules before. So there was you had to make a specific payment every month for 10 years, or you had to have a certain payment type. It had to be the income-driven repayment plan. And that's what you had to pay every single month in order to qualify for this, or you had to make X amount of payments to qualify for this. And this is important because a lot of people who qualify now did not qualify before, and so they just don't even know that, or they haven't applied for anything, and you need to. So if you are somebody who has a lot of student loan debt and you don't think you can pay this off in the next 10 years, or if you've been in the public service industry for the past, 7 years, and you have 3 more years left to go to get this cancellation, and you have a high amount of student loan debt that you don't think you'll be able to pay off within that same amount of time, or you don't want to, then you need to apply for this. So there is a deadline, October 31st, 2022. It may be extended, but I would just be safe and go ahead and apply for this, get everything straightened out. Because if you didn't qualify before, you probably do now, because all of that stuff, those crazy rules they don't matter. And the forbearance, all of it counts toward this. So we've had almost 3 years of not having to pay on our student loan debt. And that is 3 years that you probably worked in the public service industry, and that counts toward your 10 years. And these don't have to be consecutive. All of this is pretty major. So yeah, I took some notes here. You may have had the wrong loan type in the past, but now you're eligible. It allows more payments to qualify, including deferments, partial payments, and lump sum payments. So they had these rules before where, like, if you made a lump sum payment on your student loans, that disqualified you for this forgiveness, or if you made a partial payment, that didn't count toward this, so you completely had to start it over. Yeah, this is pretty significant. So definitely, I would say if you're in the public service industry, just go ahead and apply for it, even if you think you're going to pay off your student loans earlier, because I don't think there is too much harm to it. This is only temporary, so I'm assuming after this there's going to be some rules in place for what you need to do. And if you really, really want that cancellation, if you really want that forgiveness, then definitely make sure you're following all the rules that are to come. But if you are in the public service industry and you're just like, maybe I should, go ahead and just apply for it. If you pay off your student loan debt earlier, then that's great as well. Okay, now the final part of this is to keep college costs low. Biden did the largest increase in over a decade for the maximum amount of Pell Grant that is allowed. So you can get a larger Pell Grant, and that will help more people, and you will have to take out less student loan debt. They're also trying to, put a stop to those predatory colleges where it's just like kind of empty promises where they're telling you that you're gonna succeed here, get a really great job, and then people end up graduating and their, school credits don't count. I don't know how that's still happening, but apparently it is. So they're going to be putting out an annual watch list with the programs with the worst debt levels in the US so that students can avoid these programs, and then that also holds the colleges accountable. Ideally, I would think that they want to prevent the colleges from ending up on this list, so this shouldn't happen. But also, if it does happen, they will be held accountable for it, and I'm sure that things will be put in place in the future as well to help the people who end up going to these colleges. But yeah, if that's out there, then definitely avoid those places. When it comes to college, it's always best to go to a more common, like, a community college or your state's university. Like, that's just, those are more trustworthy, and like, there's millions of people who can speak for it and say like, yes, this counted. I now have a successful job because of this, or, all those situations. So just be careful about where you go to college, but I think that's important that they are putting these things in place so that in the future, students don't have to worry about, getting debt canceled that didn't help them at all. Okay, that was a lot of information, I know. If you have any questions, let me know. If I missed anything, please let me know. Or if there's anything that stands out to you, please comment, and I will make sure to pin that if it's really important. As I said, I'm going to be making a blog post along with this, so if you missed anything, definitely go check that out and, read through it. Make sure you are all caught up on this information. This mostly applies to people who, after this cancellation goes through, not all of your student loan debt is gone. So come January 2023, you still have debt to pay, student loan debt to pay. That's who this is for. So all of this is amazing, honestly, and this is going to help so many people. I'm glad all of this is happening. I'm excited to see. I hope that a lot of people take advantage of this, and I hope this does help a lot of students to improve their financial future. But at the end of the day, if you are going to have student loan debt after this cancellation still, just keep on educating yourself. Keep on learning about finances, and yes, this is important, and these are helpful things that will help you to save money and make less payment, pay less money for your student loans each month, but you still want to increase your knowledge on finances overall. That is it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. Any relevant links will be down below as well. If you found this helpful, or if you are interested in this information, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. The student loan videos are still coming. I'm going to keep y'all updated. And then, of course, I have so much content planned, especially after I become debt-free. So please subscribe. I really appreciate it, and it really supports my channel. But that is it. I will see you in my next video.